The first thing you should know about my friend Mrs. Filholm is that she's a scientist. She's constantly inventing hypotheses and testing to see whether they hold up. In fact, we've witnessed Mrs. Filholm conduct several experiments on this very show. Perhaps you recall the divorce experiment of 2019 or the great bidet experiment of 2020. If you think about it, Mrs. Filholm is no different than Benjamin Franklin, Albert Einstein, or Marie Curie. The next thing you should know is that Mrs. Filholm has taken on a new experiment at great personal expense. Mrs. Filholm has decided to find out whether work-life balance, number one, exists, and number two, is achievable with a jobby job. She's sacrificing herself and risking it all for the betterment of mankind. Thank you for your service, Mrs. Filholm.
The first thing you should know about my friend Andrew is that he knows when he's being handled. Like me, and in some ways, thanks to me, my colleague, and our brilliant AP English curriculum, Andrew is a savvy consumer of information. He understands the pillars of rhetoric and persuasion, which, in my opinion, is a vital life skill. I'm downright evangelical about it. If we can teach young people how to think critically, we have a shot at helping them evaluate and navigate the media propaganda aimed squarely against them 24 hours a day. The next thing you should know about Andrew is that, like me, he sometimes doesn't mind being handled. IKEA, wedding photographers, Google Chrome, we get what you're doing to us and we reluctantly accept it. But most of the time, no thank you. We don't want to be duped any more than anyone else does. And sometimes it takes an emergency lunch meeting with Andrew and a metaphorical snap out of it to remind me when I'm being handled in the bad way. Thanks, Mr. Bridges.
Welcome to Half My Age, a weekly show in which a 25-year-old adult and a 50-year-old child help each other make sense of the world. That's funny. We both thanked each other at the end of our opens.
Huh?
We're just very grateful. This is the week of gratitude.
I might cut that. I might cut the last whole sentence of mine. I'm not sure. I didn't really like my open, the way it ended. I like the content. I just didn't think it was a very clever ending. I wrote it too late last night. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm back in the closet pillow fort recording studio, and you're talking to me via Skype, and everything's hunky dory.
Seems hunky. Seems dory. Seems
How are
good.
you today? It seems like I saw you not that long ago.
I know. Thanks for the emergency lunch meeting yesterday. Wasn't that something? That was funny. You told me something I wasn't sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure I knew that you were going to tell me, yep, that's what that is, right? That's why I called you. But I wasn't sure, and God dang it, sorry. And I wasn't quite able to make that I wasn't quite able to come to that conclusion on my own. I was near it. But anyway.
Do you want to fill in the listeners at home as to what we're talking about?
Yeah, we should, right? Do you want to? You should tell the story.
Okay. So yesterday you were in my neck of the woods and you said, hey, can we get lunch? I've got some questions to ask you about the job hunt. And I said, of course.
That's nice that you put it like that I called you and said something sort of sane and tempered, like, I've got some questions to ask you. Because I just know that's not quite what I think I said. I don't remember, but I don't think it was that tempered.
I think it was. But anyways, the trying to get to the point quickly, there's a company that reached out to you and they sent you an email. It seemed to be targeted at, people with your background, teachers in particular. And they had this great opportunity where you had seemingly limitless earning potential and set your own hours kind of job. And you'd done some research and all of their marketing materials seemed to appeal to you. They were really speaking your language. And you just wanted kind of a gut check, I think, to determine whether this opportunity is a real one or a fake one.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, yeah. Actually, yeah. I think what I said when I called you was kind of like, I'm freaking out or I'm out of body. The job search is bumping my whole whatever, harshing my mellow. I think I said something kind of dramatic. Yeah. It was a company, and what I was worried about, is this an MLM? That's what something about this feels sort of like one of those multi-level marketing.
Right. It feels a little bit like Herbalife or Mary Kay or something like that.
But it was done in such a way that I did not grasp that very quickly. My point is they did a very good job of selling me. Boy, oh boy. I mean, what they did is they reached out to me via robocall and email at the same time. And I knew that sounded fishy. I mean, I understand that's not a personal thing. That's somebody who just found my resume via search terms. But there was also a fishy thing on ZipRecruiter where I have applied for a few jobs. Um, there was a job I applied for that was like techno or teacher trainer. And I typically when I look for jobs on job websites like that, if I can, I go and apply for the job via the company's website, you know? I go and look them up and I
Sure.
see.
So rather than submitting your application via ZipRecruiter, you go to their website and see if there's a link for you to submit it there.
Yep, and usually there is. I mean, sometimes you can't find the company is my point. Sometimes it is not unheard of on a place like ZipRecruiter to like in this case, I couldn't find the company. It was listed as in Westminster, Colorado, and it had some very generic it was posted as like teacher training company. I could tell that it might not be the real name. And sometimes you have to do that because it might be Lockheed Martin or Ball or something. I mean, there are
Right. Some kind of
companies.
defense contractor.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you see that sometimes that it says a top technical company in Denver is hiring. So you go, all right, I'll apply through ZipRecruiter. So it's possible that the job I applied for there that said train other teachers, it's possible that that's how they got my thing. But when I went back and looked, it's not obvious. I'm not sure of that. I looked and it's like, okay, the language is kind of similar. Anyway, so I got this phone call and it is confusing and they know it's going to be confusing. I am in the middle of applying for a bunch of jobs. And so I get this call and go, oh, like I said, it must be for that one that I applied for that I couldn't find their website. Oh, this must be it. What they asked me to do was watch a webinar. They said, we really have a great opportunity. I'm telling you, Andrew, I know this kind of language, right? I know the kind of emails you get that say, link to this, go watch this thing, go watch that. I mean, I get it. I really feel like I am more prone than most to
Sure,
be,
you're very savvy.
yeah, and to be skeptical of it and to be skeptical of especially MLMs. I was telling somebody last night, I grew up with the kind of Catholic parents who like brought me up to believe that Amway was a straight up cult. You know what I mean?
What's Amway?
It's a um it's lifestyle products. I think it's everything from like personal care products to cleaning products around the house.
Sure.
And it's one of those things where, you sell it and then you get other people under you to sell it and it goes on and on. Um, I'm not kidding. My mom and dad. Anyway, so I really feel like I'm savvy about this. And I could tell there was something a little bit impersonal in this. And I went, all right. For some reason, I decided to watch their hour-long webinar, which I find baffling right there. I'm like, let's back up to that day. Because I never watch an hour of anything. I mean, I don't watch an hour of a TV show. So that day I just decided to, and then the webinar was super, super low tech, super
Mhm.
low tech. And at first I was like, this is janky. And they also made a very big deal about telling you who they were. Like, I'm a real person. Here's my website for me. I'm a principal at a school.
Right. And then you said they had the one guy on there, and it was about, here's him with his family on vacation. Right. It was very much trying to humanize these people.
Totally humanizing and also going, here's a picture of me and my family. And listen, we're all educators. My son there on the left, he's an educator. His wife, guess what? She's even a school counselor. We're all in education. We're just showing you, we're just do-gooders in education and we're real people. Yep. And I'm like, all right, you seem to be, it felt weird. It felt weird. Like, why are you taking so long to tell me who you are? Okay, great. I get who you are. Well, then this little webinar video, the parts of it were a little less low tech. I mean, they had some video of people at conferences, like teacher conferences. I just want you to know that I shed a couple of tears, like for Clem's tears during this webinar, because what they were saying about their commitment to young people. And man, when you go in and you can change a classroom culture, and if you come in with, they use the word high regard. What do they call it? Like something about high regard. Literally a word that when it was used about me as a teacher, I remember it when somebody said they hold you in very high regard. This class of kids is giving you a hard time right now, but Lisa, they hold you in high regard. That's a word that mattered to me because I think it's one of the ways, and if I hold them in high regard, they trust me and I can teach them. It was talking about how you can come in and change an entire climate and culture at a school with certain it was mostly about classroom management. The whole idea was like, golly, classrooms are out of control and kids are out of control and we got digital media in the classroom and we got how do we rein them in and how do we teach them something? And they were like talking my language and they with such high regard for the kids. Like I said, I got a little emotional. I got up, I decided I would do my stretching during this webinar and I did a lot of it. But I mean, at certain points I jumped up and I was like writing notes and going,
You jumped up and you yelled, "Hallelujah."
well, I mean, it really, there were sections that they were talking about that I was like, I say that in my book. I mean, they were, for example, talking about the way we reach kids. We have to understand how their brains work, and we have to appeal to teenagers with sights and scents and sounds, all the senses that I'm going, I know. That's what I say in my book, and that's what my classroom was like. And then of course the idea was, and they kept saying, we pay our trainers just big. You won't believe how much money you make. This is not just some educational thing. This is the secret. You're going to get paid as much as corporate training. Okay, listen, I'm starting to understand at that point that this language is a little funky and that it sounds too good to be true. And then I didn't make it till the very, very end, but I watched for over an hour. And then it becomes clear that the next step is I think I have to call them and say, yeah, I want an interview. I want to learn more. And then after that, they'll tell me about the financial structure. And I go, fishy. At that point, I talked it through with a couple of people. As I told you yesterday, I had a conversation with you in my head about 5 times.
That is kind of handy. I don't know how I'm supposed to monetize that. My voice in your head, it feels like I should be getting some money for that.
You're not. It's a bummer. And it's how I do with Dr. Jeannie, too. It's like, sorry, you've been such a good therapist to me now that I kind of know what you would say. So I can, it's the best. Anyway, so like I said, okay, I'm sorry. You said make the story short. I just made it long. But it was fascinating to me the way they got me because then um, Tuesday night, I went to bed knowing I had this phone interview on Wednesday morning with this company. And I have also, in the meantime, secured an interview, which is next week, with a clearly real company where there's real people reaching out to me and I'm going to meet them in person.
With a real paycheck,
And
they're
there's a salary.
prepared
They've
to
told
tell
me
you
about
about.
what it is. Exactly right. And they've told me all about the benefits and the 401k and the vacation time. So, okay. So anyway, this one I had pretty much given up on Tuesday night. I was like, I know this is dumb and fake. I want nothing to do with this. I hope they don't call. Okay, I'll take the call. I took the call, and in half an hour, I was wrestling with it again in my mind. I was back on board thinking, well, maybe this is for me. Well, maybe I could do this and a real job. This really aligns so well with my stuff, Mama Bear. Really, it's just a twofer. It's just like
So you really talked yourself into it.
did. And I even asked her, I said, why, if it's so great, why are we not more transparent with the pay structure? I said, and then I said, so let me understand, this seems more like a certification training program, because that's the other thing I haven't mentioned yet. It became clear I have to go pay to get their training. Now, it's not thousands and thousands of dollars, which again is I think one of the ways they get you. When I hear that, I would normally turn it off. But then when they go, it's only $700. It's a wonderful 4-day training, $700 training. You do have to get your own hotel room and you have to get to Phoenix or Ohio. But, you know, so I'm going, all right, it's still only then a couple of grand. And if I were a classroom school teacher, my school would pay for it. And they say that sometimes that's how it happens. So I'm going, well, maybe it's just like a professional development certification that wouldn't hurt me. In our little half-hour conversation, and then I dissected most of it with you at lunchtime, I realized the subtle things she said and the way she did it. For example, at one point when I was asking about the money, why aren't you more transparent about it? It never felt salesy, but what she did say was, "Oh, it's just because we're so exclusive. You are great. You clearly." She said at one point after I gave my pitch about who I am and why I'm drawn to this philosophy of classroom management, she says, "Oh, my head is just spinning." I'll get back to that. She got back to it later at probably the exact time in the conversation that it's meant to happen, where she said, "I said my head was spinning. It's because you just have such enthusiasm. You obviously have the personality and the passion and the professionalism that we're looking for. You know, I'm thinking that once you get trained, you could become one of our XYZ, whatever they're called." She named some position. And that means you would be doing like what I'm doing. You'd be coaching other people and you'd have them under you. Mhm. There you go.
It's
And then
not
she
it's not a
mentioned
pyramid,
Sam.
it's more of a triangle.
And then she mentioned to me, and again, if I flatter myself to think that they did any amount of looking me up, this would be seem carefully placed, but I'm sure they didn't. This was a practically a robot call. She mentioned I was able to take care of my parents when they got sick because I had that income that just kept coming. And she's talking about other people are out there doing
Other
the thing.
people are selling.
Yep. And so, I was able to take 100 days for my parents' care. And I went, remarkably on point. But then I go, that's literally, and then you and I discussed it at lunch. I am literally the target for multi-level marketing, middle-aged women. Work from home, keep your flexibility. Don't work for the man anymore. A newly divorced
Right. Work when
woman.
you want and make better money than you think you ought
Yeah.
to, or be able
Yeah.
to, you know?
And use your special skills. You're so special. We all think that. We all are at this point where it's like, heck yeah, I do have a lot of skills here in my middle life. I should be putting them to good use. Gosh darn it, I don't want to use those for the PTSA anymore. I could surely make six figures because I'm good at planning classroom parties or whatever, right? And I mean, I have way better skills than that. But holy cow, Andrew, I realized at one point, it was all so soft and it wasn't, I am prone to know what these talking points are, but it was just, they designed that for exactly someone like me, and I fell for it. I didn't fall for it hook, line, and sinker. As I said, I was wrestling with it from the minute I watched that webinar, and I remember driving and going, like angel and devil on my shoulder, an absolute like conversation between two voices in my head, one saying, but it was all those teachers at a teacher conference. Those are like your teacher friends. Those are the people you love and miss, right? I'm looking at this guy like saying, this is how I use it in my classroom. I'm like, that's Joe Locasio. That I want to be back with those. It was fun being a teacher when we just like with the good teachers and when we would plan to make programs better and save the kids. Come on, that's fun stuff. It's fun talking about anything with real professionals. And I like those times. I went, oh, these are my people. I got to get back. Um, oh yeah, there was one subtle thing that I mentioned to you at lunch, I think, because I was just realizing she had said this. Um, she was talking about, okay, you're going to get this video about the financial structure, and she's telling me, I'm glad they did it the way they did it, but they used just really one of the lowest cases you could use. Sometimes you're going to make $30,000 at a conference. They use one where you make only 1,500, but I'm glad they do it because they're being realistic. They're being very transparent. hmm And then she mentions, and then she mentioned something to me about, for example, like just a place like that where you just go to a school and it's just a one-off and you're just going to get paid that fee. She says, I have had it happen where, I'm leaving the materials. I don't know what materials she's talking about. I've never seen their program. It's proprietary. They're not going to, but she's acting like I know. She says, I just leave my materials, but a lot of teachers don't want to share. And the school has only bought enough materials for them to share. So they're going to buy their own materials. And I went, uh-huh, thinking, what does that have to do with me? And I go, oh, I get it. So that's part of my pay. I'm going to be repping their shit and trying to sell their books. So then, anyway, so I went to lunch with you to just go, is this real or not? Because I really was having, uh, I was hurting my brain because I went, well, should I lean into this? Is this an opportunity? Boy, they're talking my language. I explained it to you, certainly not as long as I've talked right now. And you did the thing I love where you went, I've got enough information, shook your head, walk away. I mean, I told my son George, it felt like Andrew went snap out of us. Like, yeah, okay, thanks. Phew. Yep. And it was not hard for me from that moment on. I sat there at lunch and I actually felt some of my tension just drain away. And it was like, nope, that's settled. Andrew said, no, I agree. I know all this. Then I kind of, these other things came up like, oh my God, the book thing. Oh my God, she said that. Holy cow. In 30 minutes, she actually used most of the tricks of a multi-level marketing pitch,
Sure.
but just in a subtle way that I did not recognize at the outset, which is surprising to me because usually I do. That's my point.
The things that stuck out to me when you were telling the story yesterday, you commented that the video quality was poor, and it wasn't salesy at all. It was a soft sell. But the things that stuck out to me was the robocall and the webinar,
Yeah.
because I've been on the um I've never been with a company that's implemented either of these things, but we've looked at it, and there is so much cost and effort that goes into setting up a robocall system and a webinar, that it is it's it's really a those are tools designed for reaching as many people as you possibly can. It's got a mill sort of feeling to it where we're just spraying and praying, and it's gonna this message is gonna hit a lot of people, and some people it's gonna bounce right off, and some people it's gonna resonate. And this one just happened to be right in your um, area of interest, the things you care about. This one was tailor made for you.
Tailor made for me. That's interesting you say the robocalls. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Eh, the interesting because yesterday, one of the things you said to me, I think you said was, "Why are they spending so much money on marketing, blah, blah, blah." And, I was like, "Well, no, it's a robocall, it must be cheap." So I believe you if your companies have looked into it, that you've seen that that's expensive because they're not call
So every
if you're
individual
automating
call
that.
is cheap,
Yeah,
but
yeah, right.
the process of implementing the entire system is
Oh,
very expensive.
I believe it, and the only reason you would invest that much up front, right, is because we're not making 10 calls a day, and we're using a robot to help us. We're making thousands.
Right. And there's another thing, which is, normally when you apply for a job, you're gonna get in touch with some kind of harried HR person who doesn't know anything about the position they're hiring for, and they're kind of annoyed with the whole thing, and they just need someone in there. And this is not that at all. This person is, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so great. The opportunities are endless, and oh, by the way, in order to get started you have to give us $700.
Mhm,
This isn't a job where we're going to pay you. This is a job where you
mhm.
pay us, and
Yep.
then with your newfound knowledge, maybe then you can go forth and make a fortune, make a wage.
And what is curious to me is because I did clarify that. So this is like a certification. Oh, yes, you're 1099 employees. What I didn't get, and I'm not going to find out because I'm not watching their financial video that they sent me, uh, is why are you even involved then? Why would a paycheck go through you guys? You have told me it's up to me to book my stuff at schools. I mean, 100% I
Right. Why
understand.
why don't you just sell me 30
Yep.
copies of your books and then I'll go
Yep.
sell them for twice as
Mhm.
much? Yeah.
Yeah, or give me my certification and I can put it as a line item on my resume. What now? So, great. Now, we've discussed that. The reason I thought it was worth bringing up again on the program today, the reason I talked to you yesterday is because at that moment, I still thought I might be calling them back for and I don't want to talk about them on the air. I mean, I clearly know I'm not, and I'm not going to talk about the name on the air because it doesn't matter. But uh, I am led to believe, and we kind of talked about it at lunch yesterday. I'm not the only person to whom this happens. It really felt like similar to, my mom has been very proud that she has avoided the calls. She has recognized it when she got a call that was like, "Hi, this is your grandson. I need
Right. I'm
I'm
in jail.
stuck.
I need you to bail me out.
I need iTunes gift cards to bail me out of jail." My mom has recognized that and been very proud of it. You know what I mean? Like, I am not a senior who can be duped. And of course, her thing is the people who do this call don't, well, I shouldn't say what because that's her secret. They don't call her by the right name that any of her grandchildren would call her, right? Whatever. So my mom's very proud of that. I am very proud of the fact that, like, and I don't love MLMs, and I don't even love.
Nor should you. They're
I
evil.
know, but I mean, I have been like a bad friend over the years, because also another group of women who are targeted to do these things, these pyramid things, are young mothers who are stay-at-home moms. You can work from home. It's just having parties.
Right.
Um, And I really almost always refuse to go to those parties. Like, to the point that I felt like a bad friend, especially considering that I'm often asking my friends, "Come by my pottery, come to my book launch, come to my thing, come see my comedy." I mean, I feel like a person who's always hitting up her friends. However, it is never to get you to sign under me and then bring more people to my shows and I'll pay you. Um, it's a different thing. But I'm just saying, like, I really very rarely, the times that I can go, that I went to the Pampered Chef party or the Silpata party or the times I've gone are, like, I can count on one hand for my whole life because I hate them so much. Sometimes I will even buy your product from your catalog because, I mean, some of those products are great. Cutco knives are great, but I'm not I just like, I feel like I am so prone to not fall for it, and it was just stunning how I absolutely 100% fell for this one. And like you said, it was because of the soft sell. It was because of the video quality wasn't great. Listen, educators, teachers, me, even if it was too slick, I would go, "Oh, okay, this is obviously, they obviously have too much money. This is a scam." No, they came in real. It looked like something a teacher would make. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I thought it was worth talking about a little bit because other people are out there looking for jobs and other people know that this happens, but that idea of like you're on ZipRecruiter or you're wherever, that's just one where I happen to be, and I'm not hustling too hard. I'm being pretty judicious about what I apply for, but your stuff is out there, and that robocall that when they said, and then the second call with a human being when they said, "No, you've got all the skills we want," it feels really flattering. It feels hopeful. You're looking for a job. You're vulnerable. And they know it really felt like, holy crap. They I mean, I was prey and they set a trap for me and I walked right into it. That's interesting. Like I said, I had a gut feeling about it from the beginning, but the fact that I kept overriding my gut and going, "Yeah, well, maybe just take the next step. Just check it out again.
And
Just
that's how
have
it's
a conversation."
designed to work.
Literally.
There's when you go and learn to be a salesperson, they talk about one of the big things you can learn to in your sales journey is how to overcome objections. So there's all these things that they know. You're going to say no for this reason. You're going to say no for this reason. You're gonna have all these reasons not to buy my thing. And they spend hours and hours just coming up with things you can't say no to or responses to your no's so that your objection goes away entirely.
I know it. And they did it in I mean, and, and I know that sort of theoretically, right? I mean, I know how to do it because I taught you how to write rhetoric. I mean, that's my point, is like I understand, anticipate the argument. It's one of the first tenets of making an argument, right? Anticipate and in fact, knock as many of those down as you can before you start talking or writing. And like I said, the softness with which she did it when I went, "Okay, so why aren't you being more transparent about the thing?" Da, da, da. Oh, of course, it's because it's this, you have to get through this call first. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake. I mean, I can see it now, and I think, like I said, I felt it all the way along. Like, this doesn't feel quite right. But again, enough that they wore me down in exactly the right way. Yeah, it was just stunning because, like I said, even when I am looking for these things that don't make sense, even when I'm looking for it, even when I suspect I'm being handled, I still am it's completely possible to handle me. Wow, wow, wow. That it was mostly fascinating, and actually, that's not true. It was not mostly fascinating. It actually pissed me off and hurt my feelings. Yesterday, I felt exhausted after our lunch, and I felt like, golly, there's bad people out there all over the place.
Yeah.
And they are trying to get me, and they're trying to get and we know it. And because the other thing is, I mentioned last week that in the job hunt, a lot of it is salesy. Like they reach out and say, "Hey, we're looking for an educator outreach person," and it's repping a product, like I said. And so that's not the first one that has come to me that's not a real job. And I mean, I get it. It's fishy. They respond right away. I get it pissed me off. It really actually pissed me off. And then I took it to think about like the seniors who do get scammed. And I have a friend whose mom is up in Canada and recently, just one of those stories. They called from the bank, from the Royal Canadian Bank, and, the poor mom who has probably a little bit of dementia and is getting old, and now she is freaked out because she feels stupid. So she, in fact, is now getting bitchy and, like, going, "No, it said that it was calling from the bank. Let me print out my phone records," and then, like, she's marching on down to the bank to go, "No, it was you people who called me," and, of course, the bank is going, "Ma'am, it's okay. We're gonna take care of this for you, but that was a scam, and it wasn't from the bank, and what you did is you gave all of your numbers to a bad guy, and when he asked for your three-digit code on the back of your card, you gave it to him." And she, of course, at one point says to her daughter, my friend, "But I talked to the guy for 2 hours," and I'm like, "Oh my god." Again, there you go. That's a slow burn. That's a person who knows if you talk to an elderly person long enough and confuse them enough and get their trust enough, they will that really freaks me out. And it felt very similar. Like, I know better. I know better. I know money doesn't fall off of trees. I know it doesn't make sense. I know if it's just a training that I can go and get that I can add to my resume that'll be something else I can take to schools. Those kinds of things, you can go to their website and go, "Oh, it's $700 for their training, and then you get this thing." I knew it was wrong, and I still bit the hook. Hate that.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And I can't believe that there are I mean, I guess I can. We know it to be true. We know there are bad people out there looking to take advantage of others. But I cannot imagine going to that job every single day. Um, Imagine the bank scammer guy, right? He's, he
Yeah,
probably puts on his collared shirt
I
and his tie and
know.
goes to some call center somewhere and scams 40 people a day, you know?
I know it. Okay, so that one to me, you're right, that just feels criminal and you know damn well you're doing something bad.
This one, I think the lady who's selling you, she herself is a dupe. She's been taken in by the same promises she's making to you.
That's what I was gonna say is that because I actually had that thought after our lunch. I was like, "What the hell is wrong with that woman?" Like, when I'm saying, I have to make some money right now. This is a cash flow issue. This isn't just about following my dreams. Part of the reason I'm, looking for a job is because I want money. And
That
how can
seems
you do this to
reasonable.
me? Doesn't it? And how can you do this to me? And I thought about it exactly what you're saying. She believes it. And the truth is, uh, she probably has done well with it. You can make a lot of money selling a lot of things. Some people do great in Amway or scrapbook or candles, I mean, whatever. But and there was a podcast. I actually did pull it up again last night. It's called The Dream. I think it's a Stitcher podcast. And I listened to season 1 of it, which was about multi-level marketing um, schemes, and it is very interesting. It's very cool. It's very good reporting. They talk, they do personal stories. They go to these big national conventions. They talk about building that enthusiasm so that yes, the the dupe who's selling me the line, she's not. I mean, she's shiny happy people because she believes it. I mean, she does not believe she's doing evil. She believes she's giving me
The opportunity to succeed.
beyond. And of course, you're talking to classroom teachers. You can also say that out loud to any class. You can just say, "Well, I got into this because I'm a teacher, so I am always looking for a second job. Maybe I don't have to work at a liquor store all summer. Maybe I can do 4 to 5 presentations a year and change the culture of a school and make a difference in a bunch of kids' lives and get enough money to make my shitty teacher salary viable for my family." I get why it's attractive, but I also get why I specifically, that's the other thing, Andrew, I specifically get this model. What they ultimately tell you got to do for this job, you're going to be going to conferences like educator conferences, and you're going to ask to do a breakout session. You're going to apply to get a breakout session. And then from there, you'll get a couple of gigs booked at schools. As you well know, because I've done this. This is how Mama Bear works. I go to a conference, I do get a couple of gigs booked. The next year I apply for the conference. They don't want me to do the same thing again, so I do something else. I draw a slightly different crowd, 2 Mama Bear gigs booked from that. I get how it works. And I also get that I'm not making millions of dollars. I get how it works and I understand it's a slow thing and it's a heck of a lot of investment. Oh, here's a good thing. I actually asked her yesterday. I said, "So I understand this model and I go to some of these educator conferences. I often have to pay and I don't like that." And she said, "Yeah, well, often the local conferences, you can just write directly and say money's tight and ask for the fee to be waived, and sometimes they'll waive it." I'm like, "Okay, that's not like a super secret tip."
That's also kind of funny because she has just, I assume, just finished telling you that you have the opportunity to make 30 grand at one of these conferences. So I would expect her response to be something along the lines of, "Oh, honey, don't even worry about the fee because you're going to make so much it's not even going to matter."
Yeah. At one point, she did say,
But
"You
that's
don't
not
have
what
to
she
go into."
said.
No, she's not. Well, because that's not the model. The $30,000 thing would be something you book from this conference. The conference is where you go and you get your shills, you get your marks. And then they bring you to your school. So, but yes, exactly right, Andrew. And at one point she said to me early before that, she had said, you don't have to go into debt to build your business. And I went, right, okay, I'm with you on that. So how do you work this? How are there conferences that are free? I was sort of, or do you have a special thing like because I'm working for you, I get no, not at all. And then she even said this to me, Andrew. She said, and then some of them, especially if it's like regional or national conferences, you often do have to pay. However, I always recommend that you can just maybe email the director of the conference and maybe offer to volunteer. Like at the registration table for check-in. And I'm going, no, no, I'm not working on like, can I do dishes in the back for my meal? I mean, of course, what she says then is, but then think about it. As everybody's walking the conference the first day, you can give them their materials and go, "Now, don't forget my workshop. It's on page 4, and you're great with people. So you've just made a connection." She's probably right. It's probably brilliant. I don't want to be a salesperson where I'm selling in every minute. When I go to conferences, in fact, on the morning, I don't wanna get up at 5:30 to help check people in. That is just not my jam as a teacher, never was. I wanna sleep in, roll out of bed, get my coffee, do my yoga, and go be ready for all of the information I'm gonna receive or disseminate at this conference. You know what I mean? I'm not. No. But that's for, like, volunteering and doing the name tags and doing the check-in. That's I've done it a million times in a million ways. That's for, like, when I'm volunteering at a thing, like my kids' I don't know. I'm telling you, it went to that level of, like, when I'm going, "So how do you get around the fact that you have to pay to go get this exposure?" Well, one way you can do it is you can offer to wash dishes in the kitchen, pay for your food. Not a viable response. Okay,
So in this
yeah.
data collection effort, we would say that so far, this is just me extrapolating or kind of reading between the lines. I would say that the companies that argue most in favor of work-life balance, or that really profess to love it, work when you want kind of companies, tend to be the worst.
Okay, so far you're right. Now, I would say I almost fell over putting my UGG back on. Um, I would say that when I out so let's do a little definition. Let's define parameters here. When I say work-life balance, well, I guess I don't know exactly what I mean, but I'm not asking for the impossible, right? Work-life balance to me means I understand I'm going to give you a lot of my time and talents. I understand that. It's not I don't think it's some magical mystical thing where it's like work from home and do whatever you want and set your own schedule. I don't think that's how work usually works. Yours does at the moment, but I mean, I'm not even that to me is work life balance. That's not what I'm looking for. When I say work life balance, here's one thing I mean. Here, we'll start here, Andrew. A nice salary that allows me to maintain a certain lifestyle that I have grown accustomed to. That's part of my work life balance right there. Okay, we'll start there. Got to be a certain amount of money. If I'm getting paid that $15 an hour we talked about, that's not work life balance.
Right. Right.
So we're just gonna
Absolutely.
start there. First, you have to pay me a lot of money and all of my benefits because that's what jobs do. And then what I'm talking about beyond that, well, we'll see when I get into a job. I just am led to believe that I don't have to feel destroyed by work every day. Maybe I do.
Right. I think there is for you in particular, and something that people don't often think about until they're at the job that they hate. The psychological aspect of a job, is this consuming, even if I'm not at the office, is this consuming my headspace and my thoughts to the point where I can't get away from work in my own brain?
Yeah. 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 And that is for me particularly. And part of that is on me. And it's going to be on me going forward in my whole life to insist to come in with more of that mindset. We talked about it a little bit last week. Talked about it to a girlfriend this week because to me she appears to have work-life balance. She has a pretty cool schedule where she gets like a lot of days off at a time. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but maybe she works what do we normally work 20 days in a month? Maybe she sort of works 15 on, 10 off or so. I mean, it's something like that.
Sure.
Um, days in a row. It's something like that. And it appears and she has I mean, she knows her schedule, but it's and she works early in the morning till whatever. Anyway, she knows her schedule. She can count on it. I know she goes in there and has crazy, crazy days at work, but I also know that mostly she leaves it behind. We don't, her work doesn't seem to most of the time. There are a couple of times where I've seen work bumming her out outside of, in life, but mostly not. So I said, "You seem to have a work-life balance. Is it possible at your company?" And she said something like, "It's not for my supervisor or this other person." And then she eventually said, "I make that for myself. I insist upon it." And I went, "Okay, good to know." I'm not, and I mentioned that in our show last week that it was a young woman who came into my last office and just I think because business school had taught her or just because she's a general badass, she just came in with like, "Under no circumstances am I here to give you all of my life and all of my free time and all of my creativity and thinking," you know?
That is not a business school lesson.
It's not.
No, business school uh, kind of breaks you in easy to the idea that you're going to leave business school, and the best thing you can possibly do is go and work for an accounting company or
Yeah.
a finance company where you would be very lucky to work 100-hour weeks,
Yeah, you're
right?
right.
That's
Yeah.
that's kind of what my version of business school promised me
Yep.
was, you're going to go and do this thing, which is, um, it probably will pay you pretty well.
Mhm.
There's definitely a status component of going to work for
Mhm.
a big bank.
Mhm.
But in return, you're going to have to give up the next 2 to 3 years of your life.
Okay, you're right.
So
she didn't.
so that's not a business school thing. That's probably something that she got from her parents or, some strong role models in her life who say, "You know what? I'm not gonna be ruled by this job. I'm going
Here's
to."
I think that's right that it came from her parents and probably but the other thing, she didn't go to business school like you did. She got some degree, possibly even a 2-year degree. I don't think it was, but it like in admin assistance.
Mhm.
It was not the same business school you took. You're right, and it probably is from some strong role model in her life. Either way, wherever it comes from, that's something that I would like to shoot for. But when I think back to what you're talking about, and I knew you then, I knew you, and you just assumed that your next step was going to be that 80 hours a week. But that's also that's like a gauntlet you have to go through, right? That's you're earning your stripes, and the promise in your case, in those business school, finance school cases, is you're going to do this now, and it's going to be nuts. But boy, that financial payoff is going to be great, and then when you're 40, when you're 50, you're gonna have all the work-life balance because 'cause you're gonna have all the money. Isn't that part of the idea?
It is part of the idea, and it's kind of funny how things change. I remember at my very first job, it was an internship, and I think my boss, who was out of graduate school, was making $50,000 a year, and I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, if I could make $50,000 a year, I would be able to afford everything I ever wanted and
Yeah.
then some. That's all the money I could ever need." And then you get to college, and then that new number, I think if you do really well, and if you go to a big bank or a big accounting firm, I think you're looking at like 70 grand a year. And when you're a starving college student who has to look under his friend's couch cushions in order to find money to afford beer. Uh, suddenly 70,000 is the new number. That seems like everything you could ever hope for and imagine. And when I left my job, I can tell you that I wasn't making that much money, and it also wasn't nearly enough. I was putting in way too much time and effort. The whole thing made me miserable. The happiness and compensation were totally out of whack. Uh, it's amazing how things change, I suppose.
Even in that job, which was not the Goldman Sachs promise of like, "Put in your sickening time for us now, and it will pay off, and you need this line item on your resume. You're gonna have to go through" but there was a promise of you're investing in something that in the future, even your last job, right, was that you were there and you were suffering because there's gonna be a payoff, right?
Right, right. That's there's another fallacy, I suppose, which is the startup fallacy, which is
Mhm,
maybe we're going to pay you poorly now, and the hours are
mhm,
really going to
mhm,
suck right now. But when this company gets big and you're a shareholder, you're going to be
mhm.
rich, and that's all
Yeah.
going to be. I mean, that's kind of a different level of MLM, which
Mhm.
is you're building this company so that someone else can come and take it over and
Mhm,
run it and
mhm,
make you
mhm,
rich later.
mhm,
But it's totally the same thing, the same
mhm,
promise.
mhm.
And I suppose it's up to you, the worker, the investor, whatever you want to call yourself, to determine whether or not you think it's a good gamble. So,
Yeah, right.
for example, at the last company, I never did buy the shares, but I am currently working for a startup where I did buy the shares. And it's kind of it's a thing you've got to weigh in your head. Is this a good gamble or not?
Well, when I think back to the days of you considering doing that thing, right? Going for the 3 years of I know it's 80 hours a week and I might have to live in Salt Lake City, but I'm going to put in my time. It's going to pay off because then I get moved into the job that I love where I make a shit ton of money for the rest of my life, right? I
Mm-hmm.
remember at a certain point when I was going, "No, don't do it, Andrew. I'll miss you. Don't go to the dark side." But also I realized that I was in no position to give you advice. And you were sort of going, in the name of work-life balance, I might not go this route that I thought I would go. And do you remember the person who said to you, kind of, "Don't get ahead of yourself there, young man. Who do you think you are? You need to go do that." That's like equivalent to getting a graduate degree.
Right.
You need to go put in your time. Do you remember that?
I do. It was your money guy and your cousin.
And that money guy and my cousin, I want you to know, now regularly says to me things like, "Now that I'm almost 50, I'm realizing that people are more important than money."
Mhm.
I mean, he is sitting from a very comfortable financial vantage point to be realizing this. He has the freedom and flexibility to go. He really could just walk away from it all right now if he needed to and be fine, but he wouldn't be, he still has a standard to uphold. He's still got kids to send to college. DTTTT. It is just interesting to me to watch him come face to face with The part of it that I concentrated when we were 20, he cared about money and I cared about people, we'll say. I cared about feelings. I cared about happiness. He went, money is happiness, money is freedom. I'm going to pursue money. And now I'm just telling you, and maybe not everyone is like that. I think they are, and he is just more awesome and able to realize it, and it's new to him. But to be sitting here and going, holy crap, after all of that I've put in, after all of the investment of my time and talents and all I have suffered, I think there's a little bit of J. Alfred Prufrock here at the end of not the end of our lives, but boy, at the towards the end of what he assumes will be his working career, and he's amassed all of the fortune that he intended to, and he's looking and going, you know what? I'm not super happy with it, and I don't. And boy, did yeah, and it's been hell. Like I've suffered for that money, and now I'm sitting here going, that money is not making me feel less suffering. Not
Yeah.
interesting.
It is interesting. It's also interesting to think about the diminishing returns of money. When you are poor and starving, the $30,000, the $50,000, whatever the number is, it probably will make you happy. But then as you get higher and higher, where this person is, what's an extra $10,000 a year? It's not going to buy him, something he couldn't afford previously. It's not going to buy him
Mm,
whatever.
hmm.
It gets to a point where you're like, do I want to go into work today where I'll make, say call it $10,000, or do I want to stay home and do something that I want to do? Because
Mhm.
at that point the money's no longer worth it.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? And I mean, there are some people who will probably just go, "Yes, it is because I can buy this watch now. I can buy this yacht now. That does make me happy." It's just interesting to me to know someone pretty close to me who I just assumed would be that guy. Like right now, and I think his things do bring him a certain amount of happiness, and he does have crazy, wonderful hobbies. But there is just a certain part of him going, "What the hell was all this for? And why am I not happier?" Ah, like I said, I suppose I think that all people reach that at some point in their middle age, if not before, because if it weren't true, we wouldn't have novels and movies and stuff about it. I mean, I think it's sort of a universal human condition to stand here at about 50 and look back at your life and go, "Huh," you know?
Sure.
And, "Hmm." So I think it's universal. What I think is interesting in this guy is his ability and his awareness of it, like his ability to talk about it and his awareness of it, which feel kind of new to me. Like this, I'm not kidding. Back in college, he would go off at Thanksgiving and just read books about the stock market. And I was so opposite, like, "Money sucks." Well, of course it doesn't suck. It's really like, he and I, almost at the same age, are now kind of flipping roles. I'm going, what I call work-life balance is a really good salary, damn it." And he's going he's going, "Yeah, I know. I had the good salary. Now what I call work-life balance is how come I'm not happy?" So, I hope that I can continue to pursue work-life balance without losing some of my happiness and joy. Um, there is also in me, I think I'm lucky as I approach a real jobby job. I generally feel quite good about being productive. I actually do take intrinsic value of doing a job well, getting something done, even if it's for somebody else. Maybe not everybody has that quality. I generally do. One thing I've also realized because of the colors your parachute and all these other kinds of things that I've been working on and a lot of interview prep questions and stuff. One thing that I realize I like to work autonomously, of course. I don't want to be micromanaged. Nobody does. However, I actually like criticism and feedback quite a lot. I don't wanna work completely. I don't love it when
You don't want
everybody
to
around
work in a
me
vacuum.
well, and I don't love it, and I don't wanna work in a vacuum of positive feedback. I don't love it when I am like, there were a couple years when I taught high school where it was like, "Listen, we're busy," and anyway, my teacher feedback, if we got observed twice a year, would generally be, "You're great. You don't need any help." And I was like, that can't be true. I'm not perfect, and I mean, and I longed for it, and, like, when it was time to be evaluated once or twice a year, I looked forward to it, like, "Sweet, another adult who knows something is gonna be in my classroom, and I'm gonna get feedback about how to be better, and I am gonna put on a good show for you. I'm gonna show you how good I am, but help me be better." And I hated the kind of there was a sense about me as a teacher in sometimes in my career where it was like, well, you don't need any help. You should be teaching the classes on teaching. It's like, yeah, I know, but I'm not kidding. I don't like just a good job. I don't trust it. If I'm in a realm of just people just going, Yeah, great job, and not giving me any critical feedback. I don't like it. So that's good to know
Sure,
about
it
myself.
also feels like a waste of time, which is,
Yeah.
if everything's so great, why am I even putting on this show?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, yeah, and stuff like that, and then it whatever, does but I just think of that that's something I've learned, and when, employers ask you, what is it that, you look for or like or working environments and feedback, and I've just realized I don't, which I think is good, which leads me to believe that maybe I can go to a jobby job, do something for somebody else, and still take a certain amount of, satisfaction. I did something today. I'm getting critical feedback. I'm getting better at something. We'll see. I don't have it yet. I have some interviews on the horizon, but don't know what it looks like yet, Andrew.
You know what it looks like, Mrs. Filholm?
Hmm.
It looks like science.
Yeah, it does. That's ruckusy, isn't it?
That is ruckusy.
Bringing the motherfucking ruckus with the science and the job applications and stuff. I don't know.
When I mentioned in my open that you might as well be Albert Einstein or Benjamin Franklin, I do like picturing you like with an Albert Einstein kind of crazy hair thing going on.
It's literally what my hair looks like when I wake up in the morning. No, it's bad. That's funny you say that because it's such a thing. I have such a collection of sleep hats and scarves and things.
You sleep in a hat? Is that comfortable?
Well, sometimes I've slept in a hat lately because I was cold. No, no, I don't really sleep in the hat. I'm just saying that I have, if someone rings my doorbell in the morning or like, what was it? It was actually recently. I forgot a service guy was coming. Can't remember if it was furnace or gutter or what. Totally forgot. So I'm lying in bed and it was an 8 o'clock in the morning, so I'm lying in bed, like looking at the internet or whatever. My point is, because I know that if that happens, I know what my hair looks like in the morning.
You don't
I
want to
have
scare anybody.
Right. I have winter and summer options for grab a toque that I can throw over or a scarf or whatever. I mean, yeah, you'll see a lot of pictures if you see a lot of selfies of me around my house and my life. I got a lot of hats and a lot of scarves on because this hair, it's just the right length to be insane. It doesn't lie down. It just sticks up all over. It's really bad.
That's my hair at any length. It grows
Is
straight
it?
out.
Does it? Yeah,
Yes.
but when you wake up in the morning, yours is short enough now and thick enough that it's not crazy.
Mm, no, I am in need of a haircut, but most of the time it's not bad. Most of the time I
Maybe if
do
I'm
keep it short enough that you can't tell whether my hair has been
right,
slept on or recently
or
washed.
must at all. That's what I thought. Maybe I'll take a picture for our listeners and put it as short if I'm feeling generous. For I'm not kidding. The things my hair does in the morning are particularly amusing. Speaking of which, we talked about my wig last week
Yeah,
and
how's your wig?
talked
I saw
about,
you wore it again.
well, I wore it for the shoot that I needed it for. I wore it for the video shoot, which is the reason we have it, and it was fine. And I did my line and it was a favor for a friend. Great.
Can I
Uh,
ask why it's important that you're a brunette in the video?
Oh, because it was, that show House,
Yeah,
which you have told me about? It was a parody of House,
I
and
see.
I
So
was playing
you're
the
one of
part
the
of Cuddy.
brunettes.
I
Sure.
was playing the part of Cuddy, his boss, and so, I mean, when they asked me to play it, I went, "Oh, so I just need you to lose 100 pounds and grow long brown hair." So we just grew the long brown hair part of it
I called
instead
it
of losing
good.
100 pounds. Good enough. Just to give it that so that, it was just a referential point. I certainly could have done it without, but there's quite a difference in my hair and that hair, and it was a cheap ass wig. It was just mostly funny. So we talked about it last week, and I thought, like I did tell you, I went down and did my Weed Lounge show in Colorado Springs. Everything was fine. Um, I thought about wearing it there. I mean, there is some I we talked about it last week. I know some women who do that as a matter of course. They wear different wigs and they go out and they know it draws attention if I'm wearing a long blonde wig and they like it. And I actually thought about it. I'm in the, we'll call it, dating scene. Ugh,
Just like you're prime for an MLM pitch, you're also prime for a wig purchase.
I guess. I guess. But here's what I learned about
Right in
myself.
that demographic.
Well, I guess, but I found this very interesting. Did you find anything more out about wig parties?
I found a couple articles. I think I linked one in the show notes last week.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't read it.
Nothing in particular. It's just a thing. I think
And
it
what it's
started. There was kind of a relationship to cancer. I think it was. Let's
Mhm.
all wear wigs with our friend who also wears a wig now.
Okay, that I
But
get.
it's not that.
Mm-mm.
It's
That's
not.
how it started.
It's grown beyond that.
It's for fun, and like I said, I think there is a certain amount of that is out there, like, you can wear different wigs and you can go sit at a bar and be a redhead for tonight, and, ooh, how fun. I actually thought about this. I have this brunette wig. I know to this minute that a lot of guys, because 'cause they're telling me, are like, "I like it a lot. That looks good on you. You look younger. That's a cool look." I'm like,
It
"Yeah, I
it
know.
seems
It can
like
work."
the guys you come across are very they feel as if they need to share all of their opinions. And I don't know if I was raised a certain way or if I just don't feel like sharing my opinions, but I never, I mean, even if someone looks nice, I don't say so. It's not
That's funny.
I'm not an opinion sharer most of the time.
Huh.
I would never
Well,
tell
I mean,
someone
these
that
are other
I like
comics, of
long.
course.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
It's
you're right.
weird.
Those are not other comics. You're right. Those, and I mentioned it last week. Those are like friends, some of them out of the woodwork who I don't know they're even looking. They're never going to like a thing on Facebook or Instagram who are texting me out of the blue like, "Hey, what's with the wig?" Doesn't matter. My point is, I'm given to believe that that is attractive to a certain population and it might be fun to put on a wig and go out on the town. I have zero interest in it because I don't want to be attractive to people for reasons that are fake. I'm not kidding. I realized that I could see, no shade, put on a wig, go out, be whoever you want to be. I personally, even if I'm just going out dancing with the girlfriends, let's say, which sometimes you do that because you just want male attention. You just want to know that somebody flirted with you at the bar and you go home happy, right? I get it. Okay, first of all, I go out and do comedy every night. I am seen plenty. I get lots of input on feeling attractive just as I am. And that's kind of my point. I don't love my short hair right now. I know it looks kind of insane. Every time I try to grow it out, I just get sick of it. This really is the zero fucks given middle-aged divorce lady hair. I know that I could look more attractive and more soft and da da da. And maybe someday I will grow it out. I keep thinking I'm growing it out. But there's just something in me now that I have found the kernel of it, which is I don't want to not be myself. I really don't. Nothing about that even seems fun, other than when it's for boundaries that I understand. Sure, I'll play Cuddy for one line in a video with a wig. That's hilarious. But the people in that room shooting with me know who I am. I don't know. It's just a funny thing that I think might have been attractive to me at earlier times in my life. The idea of like being someone else as a way to feel freedom or something or confidence. And it's like, it's the opposite. If you person out there are attracted to me because of this wig I have on, or even that purse I'm carrying, or whatever it might be, fuck you is how I'm feeling right now. It's like, I'm not even, I don't, this is who I am. If you don't want, I don't know. It's some weird little, probably unnecessary rebel inside me, Andrew, going,
If you don't if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best.
yeah, and what's worse and why is it my worst? It's just my hair. Why do you care? I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I guess there's a certain amount of me, part of me just going, I don't know, whatever that is. I am woman, hear me roar. Whatever. Boys are dumb. Boys are frustrating, Andrew. The whole thing out there. I'm not yeah, whatever. I don't have time to worry about it. I got a job to get. I am too busy being heard and seen and
You're too
getting
busy
jobs and
sciencing.
writing stuff and yeah, and sciencing and I'm still booking shows and doing voiceover. So what would I do with a man in my life anyway? But there are times when I feel a little bit I don't really think I'm lonely yet. I'm just maybe I feel a little bit like it's pathetic, like I'm supposed to be coupled up.
As if you're not meeting expectations
Mm,
for life.
kinda. Don't know whose expectations they are. And maybe that's it. I'm starting to crank up the middle finger towards whose ever expectations they are, including if you think I look hot with a dark brown wig, go away. I look hot just like I am, or I don't look hot at all. You can have it this way or not at all. Okay, I don't know what that is, Andrew. That's like some fledgling thing bubbling up in me that I don't particularly like. Hey, this comes out next Monday, right? We're on a real cool schedule now.
We sure are.
So then tomorrow night, listeners, if you're listening on March 2nd, the day this podcast launches, you can go to New Talent Night at Comedy Works downtown and see me. I'm on Tuesday.
Very
Get
good.
another 3-minute shot, and I don't think I'm gonna tell real dirty jokes, Andrew. I don't think so. Haven't decided yet, but you should come. And I thought I had another. Oh, and tonight we're gonna try it. We're gonna see. I have an idea for a new podcast. Don't be jealous.
How
Don't
could
know
I be
title.
jealous?
I know, I'm kidding.
How
Don't
how
know
could how could any
title.
of your other podcasts
Podcast. Podcast.
compare to this one?
Well,
This
that's right. Well, it's just I'm doing it with another young man, and it might hurt your feelings. It's my son, George. We're gonna try the idea of a podcast in which George Filholm explains Star Wars to me.
I
Star
think that's
Wars.
great.
It's gonna be funny. Because
Do you have a name for this podcast yet?
no, not yet. No, we haven't thought of it. Do you? Do you have an idea?
Not yet. Oh,
Jedi Mom?
we were playing around yesterday at lunch with something about Force.
Force your mom to watch Star Wars. May the Force be with my mom. Jedi Mom. I like that one. I will figure it out. George and I actually have a funny dynamic, and it's on purpose. I mean,
George
he
is
and I
very
both
funny on
know
his own.
George is very funny, and George knows when we know how we're being funny, and George is also very, very, very serious about the Star Wars universe. And as we have discussed earlier in this program, I kind of torment my boys about it, so it's gonna be real fun. We're starting tonight. I'm so excited.
I'm excited to hear it. Have you figured out how you're going to publish it? Are you going to edit it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no,
then
I'm gonna lay a thing down tonight and see if we have anything, Andrew, and then you and I are gonna talk real seriously about the next steps of getting it up there.
great. I'm excited to watch it progress.
I know, right? Well, thanks for you'll be helping along the way. And you're a big fan of George Filholm. He's so funny.
I sure am. You have great
And
sons.
we could just talk about Baby Yoda to start, and I can't wait. All right. Is that it?
I think so.
Button this up.
Let's button this up, Mrs. Filholm. Thank you.
Okay,
It's nice
thank
talking to you.
You too. Bye, Andrew.
Bye, Mrs. Filholm.